never I would like to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. I see Mr. Kreinbull in attendance, Mr. Lancer in attendance, and our alternate, Mrs. Ramos, in attendance. We have two matters before us I'd like to discuss tonight. We're going to do the first one, will be the Ordinance 2. Ordinance 2, 2024, which is an ordinance to allow the service director to advertise for bids and to enter into contracts with the lowest and best bidder for the city's requirements for various materials and supplies. Mr. Service Director, I assume this is just housekeeping to allow you to do your job, right?
Yes, and it's something we have to do every year. It lifespan is just 1 year, so the new rates that we would, or the new bids that we would receive would go into effect April 1st. Like the general services, every year, department that would have for paving, so we get our paving prices at that time, and what we'll have to, that helps us budget to know what we'll be able to pave in that year. And then the biggest one is the water department does our pipes, our valves, our hydrants, our meters, all the fittings that we purchase. It's all bid out through that time. And lately, the way the pricing has been, and also material time and getting in a timely manner, we have been ordering and stockpiling some pipe on site because of the lead time. So that, again, that's just another thing that is also in that packet when it goes out. Also, wastewater, the only thing that we have down there that we bid out typically every year is polymer, and that for our sludge press. Again, it's just a general housekeeping thing. And then for the actual water plant, salt's always on there. Salt's always a big item. We usually have about $200,000 to $250,000 in salt every year. So that's on there. And then this year, which is every 5 years, we will bid out our sanitation also at this time. Again, that's every 5 years, and typically usually have a couple people usually bid on that. But yeah, it is something we have to do every year through ordinance wise. And I would like to ask if we could pass it on first reading so I could start, advertising it, get a time for the folks to get back with us. And we usually open the bids at the end of typically beginning of March, have a board of control and award it. Because also in that, I forgot to add, is our gravel, anything like that, topsoil, just about everything that we purchase, we try to get a bid price on because prices fluctuate so much, so we get it for a year that way.
Questions from any of the committee members for the service director?
So is sanitation on the other ordinance that you brought up? I mean, there's two separate ones?
I'm sorry, I
Is
didn't
this
see
one-
it.
I had an ordinance, what's ordinance 1, 2024? Because you brought up sanitation in that comment. I was just making sure that was a separate one, wasn't it?
That's the landfill bidding. Is that been assigned?
I do not have it.
Do you
Pardon?
need ordinance one? I have it.
No, I mean, it wasn't assigned to us
Oh.
to review, I don't believe.
Yeah,
Or
that
it's
should
the
have
one
went
for
out with it.
sanitary landfill.
I'm sorry.
Well, you can take it in this meeting.
Yeah, we can take it to this meeting if. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize, Chris, I just thought it was all right there, I'm sorry. But
That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, 1 and 2 then would be if, it'd be at your will to, pass tonight on first reading and
Thank you.
approve.
Any other questions?
Just a comment,
Mr.
that
Lunsford.
this is something we do every single year. It just gives the authority to the service director to put the bids out.
Members of council? Yes.
Oh, sorry, thank you. If you could refresh my memory here, what was the budget for the material bids?
budget. for-
The amount of money that we can go up to.
I don't know that there's a, I'm not sure what you're speaking about there.
So do we
Yeah, I mean, a
have
piece of pipe might be
$500,000 for this whole thing? I mean, everything you've listed in here, or?
You'll probably have 400 or 500,000 just in paving.
Okay.
I mean, a piece of pipe might cost you $30 a foot, so I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I'd hate to say exactly what you're gonna have, for items all broken out into different departments.
Yeah, and you won't know till you get bids in too.
Right.
Thank you.
Other questions? Administration? I assume none.
No.
Okay, any members of the community with questions? Hearing none, do we choose to take action tonight as a committee?
Do we want to bundle this motion as in 1 and 2 for both of the?
If the law director says we can bundle them, we'll bundle them.
Yeah, if you want to add them all to the agenda, you can do that tonight.
Okay, I move that we add proposed ordinance 1, 2024, and proposed ordinance 2, 2024 to tonight's agenda, and ask council to suspend the rules so we can pass it on first reading.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Kreinbel, thank you. I also agree. So we'll call the roll. Mr. Lancer?
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbel?
Yes.
And myself also voting yes. So we will add those to the agenda tonight and ask council to suspend the rules and pass them on first reading. The second item up for discussion is proposed ordinance 2, 2024, which would be directing the service director to advertise for bids and to enter into contracts with the lowest and best bidder for the city's requirements for, that's the same one.
Yeah.
Sorry, flip the page there, Steve. Too many ones and twos here, guys. I'm getting old. It would be the police cruiser ordinance that we've discussed, where we would be authorizing the safety director to enter into an agreement with Montrose Ford to purchase 3 2023 Ford Explorer police cruisers and the necessary equipment for the police department at a cost not to exceed $42,039.08 each, for a total of $126,117.25. I see we've got the safety director and the chief here tonight, so I would open the floor to either or both of you to discuss what we need and how we pay for it.
Okay, well, I'll kind of start. just to get
Okay.
the- And then all the research and everything that was done by the chief and Captain Rossi. But going back several months ago, we kind of realized, first off, that there is a cruiser shortage. They're going to be hard to get. This second thing is that the price that we do have on these is cheaper than state purchasing price, and we will probably never see this cheaper price again. And in the research that Captain Rossi and the chief did, is that any other means of either like leasing or even financing is going to cost thousands of dollars more. And at this point, it's just it's a savings thing of money. And secondly, this may be the last chance, even if we tried to go 6 months from now to put in state purchasing to get a cruiser, we may not even be able to get it simply because of the shortage. So, Captain Rossi was fortunate enough to find these new cruisers at Montrose sitting on their lot. So that's kind of why this thing just kind of popped up like it did, and they've been gracious enough to hold them for us. But, so now we just got to see, what we can do. And my whole twist on it is anything else that we, if we can't, it's just going to cost us more money later. And we may not be able to get the cars if we go to try later. So it's kind of like it's the burden in the hand right now, and, so that's where I'm at with it, so I can turn it over to, the chief or, Captain Rossi, and, that he can throw some more numbers or whatever.
Pretty much covered most of it. You got anything?
How did these become available to us?
A canceled order from another department.
Okay.
Left them on Montrose's lot.
Okay. So it's not like we just mysteriously found them, they were ordered by someone who didn't take delivery, so we can get them at a little bit of a discounted price.
Right.
Okay. Other members, questions?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Kreinvold.
I was just gonna ask, like, obviously new here, but, what is the general, like, timetable for replacing police cruisers? Like, how many do we typically do annually, or what is our normal routine with that? Yeah,
We would actually try to do 3 a year,
okay,
but over the last couple of years, we had went with a lease program. And back when that happened, we were told that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And actually, we ended up not getting the number of cruisers that we had actually set the lease up for. The one that mysteriously came up missing, actually at the factory, they said it fell off of a lift or something, but we never did, so we ended up only getting 5 a couple years ago. And so the lease program that we tried really didn't work out to the best of what we, thought it would. And once again, this is probably the first time that I've known where there's actually been cruisers sitting on a car lot, within 50 miles of the city here. So, but normally 3
so
is what we try to
percentage
do.
do we have now leased as compared to own?
We have a lease on 5 of them right now.
Okay,
And when are those gonna be up, do we know?
At the end of 25,
25?
November, December of 2025. And then we'll owe $9,000 almost on every car.
And I think the distinction, and I'm not sure if council's familiar. I know we drive by car dealerships all the time, we see Sport Explorers sitting on a car lot. Those aren't what we're buying. Much like the fire chief has an order 3 years in advance for a fire truck, Ford or Dodge or Chevy, they only open an order bank nationwide once or twice a year. And we would have to get a purchase order and almost a lottery system. We'd have to build our cars, purchase our cars, and hope 6 to 8 months later, our order would be fulfilled. Oftentimes, smaller agencies such as ours, when Ford spitball a number, says they're only gonna make 2,000 units, they may end up with 2,800 orders. We may get dropped off, and that's what the safety director was mentioning when he said we may not get a chance to order cars later. The order bank is currently open for cars. 2025 for the 2025 bills, and they are $4,000 more per unit. And we are in a critical mass with the current leasing program, because our cars are being driven and operated 24 hours a day.
Mr. Lancer, you had a question?
Well, that answered most of my question, but is all 5 lease cars gonna be going up to 25?
Yes.
So we're gonna be in a pickle here another year, so we have to probably order them now
Right.
for,
Other questions? Yes.
So you're saving $4,000 per cruiser, is that roughly what you're thinking on this deal?
More than that, when you factor in the maintenance and service aspect. We're hemorrhaging money on service right now.
You're talking
That
per
point-
purchase price, right?
I'm talking purchase,
Yeah, purchase price.
purchase price about 4,000.
expected, yes.
But you wouldn't be able to get those for another year plus?
Right,
Yeah.
could be more by the time.
So all the
How many
service
miles,
charges
how many miles a
between now
year
and
do
then.
you drive a cruiser?
It's not uncommon for one officer in one shift to drive in excess of 100 miles of driving around the city. For instance, we have 2-year-old cars, 2.5-year-old cars, 3-year-old, 65,000 miles on them. They are operated 24 hours a day.
3 or 20,000 a year? Is that what you're thinking?
It's more hours of idle time. I have a car now that is at the dealership because it's missing on a cylinder. They're having a hard time tracking down why. It's a 2021. It has low-ish miles, I want to say 40 to 60,000 mile range. However, the hour meter, the run time is about 15,000 hours. Equivalent, speaking to a mechanic or a service shop, the hours, that car's well over 100,000 miles driven based on the hours of runtime. If we were commuting back and forth to New York City every day, highway miles is a lot easier on a vehicle than what we put our vehicles through.
Other questions? Yes, Mr. Ramos.
And these vehicles, they have all the equipment you guys need. And the cars are already equipped.
No, they'll have to be equipped still.
And how much is that, do you think?
I believe the last one that we did was right around $18,000 to fully equip it.
And that's in addition to 42?
Right.
So these things are like 60 apiece, 60 apiece,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Once they're fully equipped.
Okay.
So now we're at 180,000.
Well, the resolution, that's where it read a little, 'cause it says and necessary equipment, but that's not including all the stuff that you guys gotta still put in, so, okay.
And that's a separate vendor.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hurdle. This is the first hurdle. The equipment, again, that's something that we go through a vendor, Hall Public Safety, they set up all of our cruisers. Once we have the cruisers, then we can talk with them about setting up the cars. But as Mr. Popham said, these are, kind of, they're on the ground, ready for possession.
It's gonna be 60 apiece, 60 apiece, huh? You got enough money for that?
Yes,
I don't know what's in.
Mr. Ramos.
So in the temporaries, I wasn't adding correctly when I
Okay.
spoke to you earlier, multiplying. We have $100,000 in the temporary, so what would we need to do?
What?
Yeah,
It's not gonna be put on until permanence.
okay. So there's no problem with that?
Well, it depends on which question you're
Yeah.
asking me. We are still, going through, every year, I've been here 29 of them. Every year, the budget comes and it doesn't balance at first. And it needs to be worked and reworked and worked again. We are still in that process. We don't know where we're gonna end up. I know the dilemma the police have. I understand it anyway. We've often heard this before from other chiefs. But as of right now, I don't know that that money's gonna be in there. Not for 3 of them. I can't answer that question.
But we do know we're gonna need 3 police cars if that's what we're averaging needing, correct?
Yes.
I mean, and that should be budgeted yearly, correct?
If it works in the budget, yes. If I can say something else,
Yes, please.
even though, financing a vehicle adds a little more money because of interest and so forth, that just might be the way to go. It's not the best option, but it's not that outright cost all at once.
Didn't you have that price, or what the financing price was, wasn't it a couple $1,000s more per car?
I just have the monthly amount would be just under $4,000. And the finance charges worked out to be about $20,000.
For all three?
Over the course of how many years? 3?
You know what that rate?
Yeah, 8.19%.
That's a Ford lease-to-own government finance program.
It can't be that
You,
high anymore.
you can do better than that,
Yeah.
so. If you needed to go that route.
Mr. Ribbon.
Other questions? Yes, Mrs. Ramos.
Well, it's not a question, but maybe a statement. I like the idea of paying for them, absolutely, because you save all that interest and everything. We've had this discussion before. If we can somehow, and it's a good deal, and in just some months, we're gonna be coming up with 3 on the lease program. You've said that hasn't worked out so well.
Right, I don't know that we'd lease them again. It's
So-
just not been a good
I
deal.
don't know, I'm kinda thinking that we've got
Go
this
ahead.
deal right now, and I'm not on the committee, but
You are an alternate, and I want to hear your opinion. Yes, Ms. Lance.
How about finance and then we see where we're at and then buy them? You know, pay out the loans.
Is there a penalty for early payment?
I spoke with them today, there's no early termination fee on this.
So we'd still get the same, we,
Same purchase price at that then?
pay a little bit of interest.
And closing costs.
Mhm.
I mean, it's $15 per car that we'd have to pay immediate for transfer of title. And then with the purchase order, they bill us the balance. With financing, it's $545 for financing underwriting fees. And then, I'm not sure when the payments incur, if they're upon delivery or net 30.
But they're already on the ground though, right? That they're already.
Right.
I have a question.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Do we have to use this Ford government financing program? Can't we just go out there and find the best deal, the best rate?
I'm not sure how, as our government entity, we do that. I know they're set up to, I've had experience with the Ford lease-to-own program.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2, 3, or 4-year term. It's based on the signature of the law director and the chief.
Mm-hmm.
After the, they call it a lease-to-own program, it's more or less for financing. I'm not sure how traditional financing works with the government entities. I haven't really investigated any of that.
So you're saying that if you go through this Ford government financing program, you'll get the cars at this price? If you don't, what happens?
If we paid cash, we still get them at
Yeah,
that price.
if we-
right,
We actually have less than $545 fee per, yeah, so we
Which
get
to them, we're still paying cash.
exactly.
Yeah.
Plus would be minus the finance fee of
Yeah.
approximately $20,000 total.
And the other option, I don't know, but again, you could pay cash and come back and refinance a car or two if it doesn't work as well. You could get the loan after. I don't know how the books work that way, but you could pay the cash, and as we work through to get the budget actually right and finalized, you could then do
Do a
a
refi.
refi on, let's say you have enough for 1.5 cars. You could then only finance what you needed and go back and get that loan afterwards. You just wouldn't be able to use that entity, but I will speak 100% confidently that you will get a better rate than 8
Yeah.
8.1?
Yeah, if I could
Yeah.
say something.
Yes, please.
That, I had gotten something back from, I think it's Heil, from over where you're at, Chris?
Scott Howe.
Scott, okay. And I was gonna bring it up and have, President Kemp sign it to a committee, and I was looking for a loan for our new street sweeper, which I'll talk about another time. And I think he was at five, I forget, he was high fives, if I remember right. I'd have to go up and get it. It's not coming to me right off the head, but that's 2% better right there. So I know that you can get better, because he quoted me that, boy, I don't even think it was 2 weeks ago, and I think I have till April to do something with that, so,
Those rates are good,
yeah, it's a good rate.
your first quarter, basically.
Yeah, right, and he actually said to me that it could go down, but
They're going down.
that was guaranteed for now, but that's,
No higher than.
right, this time.
I don't believe we're obligated to finance through them. I think we can finance this however we want to.
Right.
Right,
And it's always gonna be a higher rate. We did the same thing with the airport hangars
right,
to get a better deal. So
right,
I know for a fact we don't legally or obligated to go through them.
right.
So I really like what Chris just said there, just to buy them, we'll figure it out. If we can pay for 1.5 or 2 or all 3, then that's good. But then if we need to refinance, we can refinance at that time.
I know there'll be banks willing to do that, and I'll have to
Yeah.
recuse myself at that time.
And I know as a
but
city,
there will be
we've
willing to
borrowed
do
money
that.
from banks for different things, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just my disclaimer, I didn't go through Chris either whenever because
Right.
of where he sat, so I just went through Scott on mine too, so.
So,
Any other questions, discussion? Is there any action to be taken tonight? Yes, Mr. Lancer?
I move, how soon are you want this done first reading?
Yes.
If we can,
I would think, I would think if they're holding them for you. you
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I'll move that we add proposed resolution 1/2024 to tonight's agenda. Ask council to suspend the rules and pass on as a first reading.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Campbell, we'll call the roll. Mr. Lancer?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I also vote yes, so we will put that on the agenda tonight for emergency passage. Is there any other items that need to come before the finance committee tonight? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved? Thank you. We will adjourn at 6:58.
Committee meeting to order. And do you have the Zoom thing? The pointer.
Oh, this, I don't think this is.
I don't think it points.
That, it doesn't point.
Okay. I'll point with my fingers. Okay. So the first item we have on our, well, first let me take attendance. Okay. The committee members are Cheryl Ramos, myself, Tom Zemmerling, Dan Lanther, and the alternate Michael Walker. So we have two items to consider tonight. The first is ordinance 10, 2024, and that is to rezone from residential to industrial, parcel number 43-006790, 407 Kaiserman Avenue Northeast. And Mr. Stein is here. He's the owner of that property. You can come up to the microphone there. And you got, okay, the cursor is there on the property that we're looking to rezone from residential to industrial for their request. And they own the property behind there. And that, so it's contiguous to, or right beside, industrial zone. So that's one of the requirements for a rezone, it has to be contiguous, I have problems with that word. But anyways, Mr. Stein is, going to explain about his company, and I forwarded to everybody on council the information that he had sent to me. So go ahead.
So we're a manufacturing company. We employ 18 people right now. And we're looking to get this to put in a CNC mold shop. We've acquired a shop up in Talmadge, and we'd like to move that down here. And with that, that'll free up some space inside of our building for some additional work that we plan on bringing in.
Okay. This zoning change was approved by the Planning Commission at the December 2023 meeting. So do we have any questions for Mr. Stein or about this process from the committee?
No, I was there for the zoning discussion.
Oh, that's
The
right, you
planning
were
commi-
here.
I was there for planning,
Yeah.
voted for it then, so.
Yeah, okay. So, any comments, questions from administration?
Did you have anything, Mayor?
No, not really. It was approved in the planning commission. We had a nice discussion about that, and, I don't see any problems with it. It's needed for the business.
And I would add also that, it's strange that Tom here, but he was still on planning commission, the mayor's a voting member, and I'm a voting member. We did have a nice conversation about it, and it was voted unanimous, to do that. And, I think the only thing that wasn't said here is that will all be, Mr. Stein, the cutout with that would be that would all be combined, and that'd be a lot combination. That was the stipulation we put on, so that'll all be one lot, so it all looks industrial. It's all one big lot for him, and he also owns down here at the end, but we didn't want to muddy the waters with doing anything with that now. The piece that's in, question is the one up at the top there, and that's the one we are gonna do, that one right there, yes, Larry. And like I say, it was voted unanimous. Again, like he said, he bought the machine shop, trying to get those folks down here to work out of there, free up some spot at MPS and do some things there, so that's all I have about it.
Okay, any questions from council?
That was a question I had about that parcel. So you have no plans for that parcel at that time?
No,
The one
we
off of
also
Beaver?
own-
I thought
we
you
own-
owned the one across the street.
We own 7 parcels, actually. We own, on Ray Street, there's a strip, and then we own, kind of across from that lot we're talking about also. But we don't plan on putting anything in there. The only thing we're looking for is just to combine that one for a machine shop at this time.
And thanks for having your business in New Philly.
Right, thank you, everyone.
How many jobs will that create?
We will bring one in immediately, it'll retain a job, and then we're probably gonna add another one in. But the larger job creation will come from freeing up the space in the existing building. I've already hired an individual, and we've had meetings on Friday about bringing in some aerospace work.
Great.
Awesome. And just to throw this out there, I know Mike has over there before, and I don't know if I'm putting you out there on the red carpet, but if anybody gets a chance ever to go and see him, he's a great company, and you ought to see what they do over
Yeah.
there. It's interesting, extremely so. I mean, everybody's got his info, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but
Well, we've got 9 robots, and we actually do the entire North American GM truck market for shackles.
yeah,
So we supply to Salau, Mexico, Oshawa, Canada, and several facilities here in the US. So we are the sole supplier for that.
right,
In New Philadelphia, Ohio.
yeah.
We also have a defense company that runs out of there too, so.
That's some of the neat
Yeah.
stuff.
That's right.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from council, the public? Any questions from you guys? You're the public now. Okay, so how this works when we rezone for the benefit of new council members is that, it has to be read 3 times. And we have to, so it won't be approved tonight, it has to be read 3 times. On the 3rd reading, we have a public hearing, and the public's notified of that, and also any property owners within 200 feet, residents, Julie, you have that address list, it was.
I do.
So they will be notified of the public hearing. Sometimes people come, sometimes people don't. So then it's approved that night. So it can't be approved tonight. I know you wanted it as soon as possible, but that's why I said we're looking February. So, do I have, a motion about, and we have to watch the 30 days. So, can you count the 30 days real quick?
Yeah, it should be fine, I think, if it's February 26th, right? That'll be
Yeah.
the meeting.
Okay.
So it should be fine.
Yes.
So if we add it to the agenda tonight, sometimes we have a little.
What number is it, Cheryl?
Okay, it is ordinance 10, 2024. So do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
I'll do it.
There's a motion to add it to the agenda.
Is that to add it to the agenda tonight?
Yeah.
And second?
I'll second that.
Okay, now we'll vote. Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, so that will be added to the agenda tonight, read 3 times, and we'll have a public hearing on the 3rd reading. Okay. Issue number 2. And thanks to Larry for helping us out with the visuals. Appreciate that a lot. Okay. So we've got 3 parcels that are owned by the city. They need to be rezoned from residential to business. And I am going to let Mr. McAmeer
Sure.
explain that.
Sure. This was another item that was in planning commission. What that is that's the old canal land. If you look there, that's South Broadway, coming down to Commercial, and then going out towards General Services Garage. But those are all the lots that are behind there. What you'll see come before council at a later, or soon here, is okaying the sale of those properties. So if you look, we had parceled them up. You kind of see the property lines, everybody can make that out. Yeah, there's the one, and here's a lot, and then on down. And we had to stay with 50 foot of road frontage and a minimum of 6,500 square foot naturally to be a city lot. So that's why some of them lines are kind of a little bit not in line, but Planning Commission thought that was the best way to sell them, was go from residential to business and get the most bang for our buck. Again, it was approved to sell it that, or to parcel them that way and divide them up that way. And at the
I
end
think part of
there,
the discussion was too, that in chunks that size would sell them, right?
right, right. Yeah, you got some nice parcels there. As a matter of fact, I had got asked, somehow people asked me about today, as a matter of fact, that I'd like to buy behind the, and actually what brought it up is the lot down here on Commercial Southeast, the old Stratton's, that parcel behind the pizza shop, businesses went crazy there. Don't ask me what it is, they've told me, and I just like, I have, but they need more room to expand their business. That one right there, yeah, where Larry's got they want that parcel to expand that business. That's the only reason it got brought up. We thought, why we want to parcel out one? It's not useful for us. So that's truly what started it. And so we just kept running with it and decided to go this route with it.
So I have a question. I was sent 3 parcel numbers. Do we need, does that cover all of that?
Right, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's just the dividing that we got. If Larry went out to GIS, you'll see now. See what I'm saying?
Just that way, yep.
So that was a question I had for Ron, because when you look at the aerial map, it looks like All About Children's Playground is on our.
Oh, yeah.
lot. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Residents there are using that. Yeah.
Yep. And again, that may be, if you look, we kind of parceled that off that way, and the other one, just in case, hey, you wanna keep stuff there, you might wanna buy this. So
Yeah.
that's just why we parceled off that one like we did, through Planning Commission. If you see what I'm saying up there, hey, you might wanna think about buying one or both of these to help you guys out, but, again, that's gonna be up to council to approve that, but what way we approve those 3 parcels, that'll be what that'll do, and then we'll go further on to, divide from there to get ready to sell. Auction.
So tonight, we're only dealing with the rezone.
That's it.
Request.
That's it.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
I think rezoning this will make it pretty easy for us to sell.
I was part of the planning commission thing, and yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah, we heard this discussion.
We were
He
there.
was on the commission I attend, and so.
And they threw me off because of this. No, it wasn't. You wouldn't know this.
Sorry about you.
Administration, comments or questions?
I think it's a great idea. We'll help the city out with some revenue, and at the same time, we'll be helping out those businesses, that have all that, available, land behind them. So hopefully it spurs some more business growth along commercial.
Yeah, and I guess, let me add one thing, now that we're talking about it. Larry, the old, that building there, that gets torn down tomorrow, so that'll be one wide open parcel right there.
Yeah, Lockport Village Hall.
Lockport Village Hall. So you're looking at a nice corner right there, a high traffic area. So, like I say, that gets tore down tomorrow by Bridges Excavating. it was in disrepair. Had to move some things out of there, but it's empty now, and they say they'll tear that down, and we'll be able to, do something with it, hopefully.
Okay, rest of council, any questions, comments? The public, any questions, comments? Okay, do I have a motion? And this is ordinance 9/2024.
I move that we add ordinance 9 to the night's agenda.
I'll second.
Come on.
Okay, I'll take a vote,
Yes?
Yes,
and I'll vote yes. Any other matters to come before, oh, and let me say that this was approved by the planning commission at the January 2024 meeting. Any other matters to come to the plan, Z and A committee meeting? Zoning annexation. Okay, a motion to,
So moved.
thank you.
yes, so.
This meeting of New Philadelphia City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise and remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Mr. Griffith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, we just give you thanks to be here tonight to serve our community and serve your purpose, Lord. We just pray that you be with us in all the decisions that we make and all the things that we do. Lord, we thank you for the selfless service of our public servants, of our safety forces, our service forces, and all the people that work here for this city. And we just pray that you would continue to bless and protect them, Lord. We are honored to be here to do your work, Lord. Just ask your presence in all that we do. It's in Jesus' name I pray it. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And welcome to our January 22nd council meeting. We'll start off with roll call.
Mr. Kreinville.
Here.
Mr. Lanzer.
Here.
Mr. Pace.
Present.
Mrs. Ramos. Here. Mr. Rippett.
Present.
Mr. Simmelink.
Present.
Mr. Walker.
Present.
All right, thank you. Everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda tonight?
Mr. President.
Yes.
I would like to add ordinance number 1, 2024, ordinance number 2, 2024, and resolution 1, 2024 to tonight's agenda, please.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lanzer. In discussion by council, administration, roll call.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinville.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Are there any other additions to the agenda tonight? Yes, Ms. Ramos.
Mr. President, I would like to add ordinance 9-2024 and 10-2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Tom. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinville.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
All right. Any other additions to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the additions.
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you. Need a second. Mr. Pace, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinville.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, the agenda has been approved. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from our last council meeting. Is there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. Need a second,
Second.
Mr. Simmelink, thank you. Discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinville.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
All right, minutes have been approved. Correspondence, Ms. Courtwright.
To Council Clerk from Treasurer Gerber, this is dated January 8th, 2024. This is the investment and savings report for December of 2023. To Council Clerk from Jen Bogger with the Ohio Ethics Commission, this is dated January 9th, 2024. This is a reminder to Council and Administration to file their financial disclosure statements by the deadline of May 15th, 2024. I emailed the reminder to all of Council and Administration. To Council Clerk from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control dated January 9th, 2024. This is a liquor license request for Primo Hospitality LLC, doing business as Uncle Primo's, located at 435 Minnick Avenue Northwest, New Philadelphia, Ohio. Responses must be postmarked no later than February 9th, 2024. I sent this request to President Kemp so he could assign to the proper committee. To Council and Administration from Mayor Day dated January 17th, 2024. This is an email titled Message from Birder Dispatch. To President Kemp from Law Director Fate, dated January 19th, 2024. This is an email titled, "Please assign to special in contact with Ordinance 5, Ordinance 6, Ordinance 7, and Ordinance 8, 2024 as the attachments." President Kemp asked Mr. Walker to take this legislation into his committee. And to Council and Administration from Mayor Day, dated January 22nd, 2024, the mayor's report. And that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Courtwright. All right, we'll move into our administrative reports. First up, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, fellow administrators, and guests. A couple things I want to highlight from the report that I sent you earlier today. Today, we learned of the passing of former Mayor Greg Erb. His heavenly journey continues now with the Lord and with his beloved son Daniel. Mayor Erb was a very passionate man, if you did not know him. He loved God, New Philadelphia, and America, and he had his own way of reminding you of that. To me, Greg was a friend and a mentor. Our city is better because of his efforts. Please remember his family in your prayers, and information about his memorial service, which is later this week, can be found on the Guide Funeral Home website. New signs will soon be erected at Tuscarora Park to assist persons who struggle to verbally express their wants, needs, and feelings. This is the graphic that I sent along with my report. The City Park Board approved the communication boards. They were designed by Lacey Herbert Steffen and donated by her Lacey Pack Adaptive Movement Center. One of the boards will be placed on the children's playground adjacent to the main parking lot on Tuscarora Avenue Northwest. The other will be located in the kiddie ride area of Tuscarora Park. The communication boards fill a need to make Tuscarora Park more handicap accessible. And Spanish language version will be printed on the back side of each of the boards. If you've looked upstairs by the mayor's office, some items from former Mayor Mike Taylor's extensive collection of New Philadelphia memorabilia will soon be on display. George Lawrence of Museum Acrylics has built and installed 3 display cases in the vestibule outside of the mayor's office. As a matter of fact, I saw that he filled one up today, which is good. Mayor Taylor's collection is now in the hands of the Tuscarawas County Heritage Home Association, which donated the cases. Items from his collection will be rotated periodically, and I'll let you know when all the cases are filled and ready for public viewing. I want to thank Mayor Taylor and the Heritage Home Association for using this project to give all of us a better appreciation of New Philadelphia's history. Now I'd like to give the remainder of my time to property and business owner Jim Nisley, who is leading a group of downtown businesses that are interested in creating a designated outdoor refreshment area, or DORA, in the downtown area. Following his presentation, President Kemp, I would ask that the DORA idea be assigned to a council committee for consideration. Jim?
Thank you.
First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jim Nisley. My wife and I own a couple businesses downtown here, LA Cats Marketplace and Fresh the Market, and have renovated some of the buildings in our downtown area. We're members of a community action committee called Impact that was created by several of the concerned members of our community that want to try to make New Philadelphia as great a place as we possibly can make it. One of the things that we think would help is in 2015, the state of Ohio enacted legislation that allows for cities to designate a specific area where you have to have it's called a zone, or the DORA zone, where you're allowed to leave a establishment that serves alcohol with an open glass of alcohol in a designated container. Now, these containers are usually like a solo cup with a logo on, but it has to be designated with some kind of lettering to make sure that it's a designated cup. In other words, somebody can't just grab a beer out of their car and pour it into a solo cup and walk around. That's not allowed. We have picked the New Philadelphia VFW as a sponsor of these cups. So the bars would actually charge the patron an additional fee for the price of the cup, and then the money raised from that would go to the VFW. They have a couple projects they're working on, and one of them is they have food pantry for the veterans. And another thing they're doing is helping some of the veterans with their heating bills. So we thought it would be a good cause if we raise money from this to give it to the VFW. A little bit about DORA is just that we have designated a zone. In the material that you were sent out earlier, the zone goes from Fair Avenue to Front Street, from Second Street on the west side to First Drive on the east side. There are 7 bars in that area, Kraft, J&G, Gavin's, Brew House, Mustard's, Ricardo's, and the Venue. I've interviewed all those bar owners. They have all agreed to participate in this program, and a couple of them are very excited about it. In fact, I've had a couple of them tell me that they get asked, especially with some of the drinks that are very expensive, if they can leave because they've only finished half of it and they want to be able to go sit outside on a bench or something. So they thought that would be a good idea for them or something that might help out. As you can see from the document or the material I sent you, I asked 8 specific questions of 5 different communities that currently have DORA. A couple of them have had it, like Canton's had it quite a while. Briefly, has there been an increase in DUIs, an increase in disorderly conduct? Any problems with public urination? Do you have trash problems? Do you have any trouble with people drinking outside of the designated zone? Has there been an increase in underage drinking? Do you have any complaints from the bar owners or businesses? And do you feel that there's been a positive addition to your business community? I had 3 cities call me, and if you look through the notes that I sent out, the first one was Coshocton. He actually spoke to me almost a half an hour. He was so excited about what DORA and the community events have done to start the revitalization process in Coshocton. Most of the people that go there only go to the tourist village there that they have, Roscoe. But he said they're trying to move some of those people into their downtown, and he said this has been very helpful. And he said something I heard several of the other people say, that a vibrant business downtown is very essential if you want to revitalize your city. The next mayor, it was the mayor of Ashland called me, and he also spoke to me for a very long time. In fact, he kept getting interrupted. He called me back 4 times. But he wanted to make sure that he got his point across that there haven't been any problems. They anticipated problems, but they didn't have any. And so there again, to all of my questions that I asked, they were all a positive response. He did say that they had started more events, and it's been very helpful during events. They're raising quite a bit of money off of the cups because they have crowds of people. And they did some interesting things like the shop hop, which would be similar to our sidewalk sales. And then also they had a Halloween costume crawl that he said had been very successful and is drawing a lot of people into their business area. Scott Rotolo was the assistant chief of police in Worcester, and he spoke to me for quite a while, said that, there again, didn't know how it would work out. The interesting thing, just so you can remember about DORA, is if at some point you feel that it's a real problem or a detriment to the city, you can stop it at any time. It's not something that's a permanent thing. You do have to review it every 5 years. Some of the criteria, and then you saw the response, hopefully, from, there were 2 other mayors or people from cities in Canton and Louisville. And I didn't get any negative responses from either of those either, and hopefully you had time to read through those responses that were sent out. With all that said, to find my notes here, I don't know and I don't know if everybody's listening to what I'm saying about DORA, but does anyone have a question about what it actually is or how it works? There again, the bar owner gives them a special cup they're not allowed to refill that cup. It has to be disposed of after they use it. So you can't walk into a bar with a Dora cup and have it refilled. It's one use. Could somebody go to the drive-through and buy a beer and pour in their cup? Yes, they could, but I know that that happens currently because working in the alleys here for 5 years renovating buildings, believe me, I'm seeing a lot of guys that are doing it every day anyway. So what the things that I think it could do for our community, for the businesses downtown, would be that it could, I can find my notes here. I'm lost. Okay. Well, I just think it would be a good thing to addition. We do get people from out of town. Since Deb's opened the 2 stores, we get people from very many communities. We've been asked several times, do you have Dora in this community? And since we don't, they all say that, you know, they travel a lot, and they find that it's really nice to go for the shopping experience. The other thing I did was interview all of the store owners and all the businesses in the downtown business district. I did not go to people's homes, but I did go to all the commercial buildings. I did not get 100% participation because I couldn't find some of them. I left messages, my phone number, not everybody called back. But what I did get was everybody but 2 of the business owners were in favor of it. There were a couple other business owners said they were in favor, but they don't want it in their store. And all you have to do is put a no Dora sign on your window, and then people can't come in with a drink into there. Their primary concern was someone might spill things on their clothing or the merchandise they're trying to sell. As we move forward with what we're doing with our projects, we just think this is one more thing that would help enhance the business district, and it's something the council could do that really doesn't cost anything. The only thing we might have to do is we're gonna have to figure out how to pay for the signs because we have to designate the perimeters of that area. And I'll make sure that we make that happen. So with that, do I have any questions from anyone?
Any questions for Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Of course, I have lots of questions about this, but I'll ask this one. You said it's gonna improve our downtown area. So what I'm hearing you say, that it's basically open carry alcohol from one place to another.
Right.
So how's that going to improve our downtown area? I mean, how's it improve it?
I think it makes an enhanced shopping experience. And when we have events, I think it just makes a nice atmosphere for people that want to have a drink while they're walking around for, say, Art on the Alley, for instance. And the people I spoke to from the other cities who are experiencing this currently are getting more participation with their downtown events since they've instituted this. Is that the only reason they're getting more participation? Probably not. I think it's just one more thing we can do to enhance our business district. It's not the only thing.
All right, any
So
other-
you're saying open carry alcohol is gonna enhance our business area?
That's my feeling.
Any other questions?
I do
Yes,
have
Mike.
Sure.
two questions. So first one, you said Art on the Alley, which I think that's great. Is that area included, that where Art in the Alley?
Yes,
Okay,
that runs down First Drive,
okay,
and that would be, it runs from Second Street on that side of the city to First Drive
okay.
on this side.
And then the second question, we're talking back and forth here, about getting a drink at Kraft and walking down and sitting in the courtyard at the courthouse.
Mhm.
Does anybody know if that's even legal? Are we allowed to do that?
I do not, and certainly,
And I don't-
certainly we could post that if it's not.
Okay.
If the county would not agree to that, we could certainly post that area as a no Dora zone. Yes.
I'll just
And
make a
by the way,
comment.
this perimeter, or the parameters for how big that area can be was in the information I set out. It has to do with your population, size of city, and I think this zone could be much bigger, or not. This was the one we had decided on to start, but it certainly could be expanded upon. We have enough acreage that we could add to it that would be legal with the state of Ohio.
I just want to make a comment, because I actually sat with Jim and Doug, what was that, about 3 or 4 months ago about this topic. And I've utilized it myself in Louisville and Canton. I think it's fantastic. And Cheryl, so that they can go on their way, I can probably answer a lot of I see your mind racing. So I can probably answer a lot of the questions for you before it gets to the committee to try to help ease you a little bit on this program, so.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have been to First Friday in Canton. That's an example of an event where they do have DORA. People are walking around, some of them, not all of them. There's all kinds of people there, but I asked specifically of those people, did you have any issues with that? And the answer was no, but in fact, it's worked so well there that we're expanding to the Football Hall of Fame area, because we want it there as well, because it's drawing more crowds, and we're having, the only problem he said they were having was that when you have that many people, that they have more problems with trash, but they had to address that. And it was more about the event, not the cups they were using.
All right, thank you, Jim.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Walker, I want you to take that into committee, the DORA, so it's assigned to you. All right, move on to Service Director, Mr. McAbeer.
Thanks, Mr. President.
You're up.
Thank you. I'll be short with mine. On Al Maloney Midway, as everyone knows, we've been refurbishing that restroom. I stopped out there today on the way back from the stadium. All the blown-in insulation has been put in, all the new fans and some lights have been put in. The roof or the ceiling has been painted, the walls are all painted. They need to epoxy the floor yet. He thought with the warmer weather that they might do that tomorrow, and then fixtures will be hung, and then they can start the partitions put in there, and then all new doors. We did find out last week that now with the state standards in restrooms, we have to put hot water tanks. So no big deal with us. We'll put one in that center section. If everybody knows, that's where all the utilities are accessed there, where you see that center door. We're gonna put a little 30-gallon tank in there just to get, so we're legal through the state, but that's the only way they would accept or approve, I should say, the license for that. So that'll be going on again in the next, that's probably the week, or for the next couple of weeks, that's the work schedule. And I'll report back on it at the next council meeting. Also today at 10 o'clock, met at the Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium on the bleachers, just real quick. If anybody hadn't heard, they're having some issues with them. It looks like it's maybe a complete rebuild. Met out there with some representatives from Dover Tank and Plate, Benchmark Construction, and then, of course, Mr. Wentworth and then Mr. Haney. So we're going over early on preliminary type of costs for them and see where they're gonna be. And I'm sure that at some point, the mayor or someone will have to come back and hopefully see what we can do maybe to help them with that, because it seems like early numbers that just was thrown out there was pretty substantial, but something needed to be done. We did go over the unrealistic timeline they had, which was in May. Told them you better hope that it can be done before the first football game in August. So we did get that right off the jump street to say not gonna happen. And there also was someone there from Diversified Engineering to let them know, you're correct, it's not gonna happen that quick. So again, I will report back on that also at the next council meeting to see if there's any updates at that time. That's the end of my report.
How did he catch how did they catch this structure?
If you go inside, you know, that was all steel originally.
Yes.
And what they're gonna go with is galvanized, so now, I don't think for 80 to 90 years, you'll have to go back out there. But since it wasn't galvanized and steel, and if you look up in some of the pockets where that moisture, if you look underneath where the cutouts are, you know, that's just all dirt, which just collects nothing but moisture, and just sat there and deteriorated that whole underneath belly of that place. It's pretty significant. It looks like a complete rebuild. The only thing that'll be salvaged out of it is the bleachers, they believe at this time, so.
It was an
Ron, that's-
inspection that revealed it.
Right.
That's
Mr.
just the
President.
upper section by the press box?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the
Yep.
upper section.
Yep, all that
Is
right
that
there.
roped, is that gonna have to be roped off during track season, or?
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
It's probably already blocked off, isn't it?
I think they may have.
I
We didn't
think
go
it is.
inside, but I believe they might have already done it, but yeah, it's severely compromised. And they're gonna make some changes, try to dry up storage, some of that spot, get some vents in there, get a man door in there. That was my suggestion. You might wanna put a man door in versus everybody coming in through a garage door. So, Mr. Haney decided he would put a man door in there to just, why open a garage door every time you gotta come in and out of there? But, again, I'll report back on it. Seems like a big item for them, but again, I'm sure that they're gonna ask us to help a little bit if we can. Naturally, we're, us being the owners, but then the leasee.
You
Yep.
must,
Was it on a yearly inspection, or is
It that was what happened? Was it triggered on a yearly inspection, Supposed to
or-
be,
Somebody walk in there and look up and say,
but I don't believe that was followed.
Yeah, it had been several years
Yes.
since it was inspected. And the bleachers in the lower level, the original stadium, are fine.
Yes.
Yeah, you can still sit there. It's just the upper that's, compromised.
Oh, and they did say today, that I forgot to add, that the footers, if there's a bright side to it, the footers that are holding everything are fine. So it's just the steel and then, you know, all the fabrication and everything to go through it, but, they did report today that the footers are all fine. Cause that would have made the cost be even more, but those are all been reported as fine.
And it doesn't include the press box?
Press box sets alone.
It's
Yeah.
alone, right?
Yeah,
It's on its own platform, it's fine.
yep, it's fine.
just can't get there.
Yeah, wrong way to get there. Good point.
Use a rope, climb up.
Yes, Marty.
Doesn't our insurance cover any of that? I mean, cause I know if there's damage to my roof,
It's wear
I
and
pay
tear. isn't it?
deductible and that's it.
Talk to the guy on your right.
Yeah,
Well, I'm asking.
Wear and tear now, I put it Now, if you had a storm, it blew it over and it's like,
It was
yes.
from hail, wasn't it?
All right, thank you. The restrooms, I may tell you what, we won't recognize going to that
Right.
restroom has been bad for so long.
Right, and if anybody, I will share that with you. There's a lockbox out there. If anybody would like to code, just ask me. You can walk in and take a look at them. So if
All right.
anybody'd like that, just let me know.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Safety Director, Mr. Popham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I have a few things this evening. First off, January 9th, we gave an entrance exam to the police department. We had 6 participants and all 6 passed. Also in the police department, we are the recipient, and thanks to the chief, Captain Rossi, and Dean Holland, we have received a grant from the state for body cams for almost $40,000. And then those will mesh with the car cams that were purchased in 2023. Just another little note, we're 22 days into January. The police department has been called 570 times for service so far. The fire department has been called 211 times for service to this date this morning. I would now like to turn the rest of my time over to the Community Cares Coordinator, Paula Lancaster, and she will give us an update on the Community Cares Program.
Thank you. So I'll do my best not to bore you guys. So the community care program started in 2020 of January. So we're going to start, we've been doing it for years now. So CARES means Community Access, Resource, Education, and Solutions. So, let's see. So they hired me in 2020. I'm a licensed community healthcare worker. I have also got certifications in home modifications and fall assessments and fall prevention. I recently just got certified for car seat safety, which also the health department did too, so we plan on doing some events this year with getting that education out there about car seat safety and making sure kiddos are in the right car seats. Aging in place is something that we see every day, and so I just strive to help people, you know, stay in their homes safely. These certifications and educations allow me to make credible recommendations for the community and help them stay in their house safely so they don't have to go into an assisted living or long-term facilities. To date, I've done 300 fall assessments. Throughout the PowerPoint, I'll try to just give you some like inactions so I don't have a whole bunch all at once. Yeah, next slide. Yep, perfect. From the beginning, it was my goal to connect with individuals on their level. We meet all different types of individuals, so I wanted them to make them feel comfortable, supported, and confident in their health care and when they're working with local social service agencies or medical personnel. By helping them find local resources and social service or medical programs that fit their needs, such as home health, nursing home placement, mental health or behavioral health services, insurance, doctors, chronic disease education and support. I help them find transportation, housing, food, pretty much you name it. They might have a need. We'll try to see how to fix that. By helping them better understand their healthcare coverage and their benefits, it just gives them more confident when they're talking to their healthcare provider, or if they aren't sure what's going on, to call their provider. I want to help them and empower them so that they will, you know, reach out to their doctors. In the beginning, when they hired me, one of their goals was to help reduce non-emergency 911 calls for the fire department. I actually went to Denise today and I'm like, I don't even know how I can show them that, because there's always another John and there's always another Sally. So I got to thinking, and there's one client that I said, hey, let me pull some numbers on him. So in 2021, we ran on this gentleman. He was a homeless guy, 38 times in 2021. So I would follow up with him and I would just find him because he would just be walking around. So I'd go out and ask him, hey, you need some help, or can I help you get connected with any services? And no, I don't want any help, you know. And I said, okay, well, you know, your life, you can have better, you know, outcomes. And he just didn't want any part of it. So every month I would go visit him like twice a month. I would just find time in my schedule, stop and say, hey bud, want any help, you know, because I see it come across 911. I'm like, oh, sorry guys, it's him again, you know. So 2022, at the end of 2021, he's like, okay, I think I need some help. Well, most of these individuals that I help don't have a birth certificate, don't have a social security card, don't have a photo ID, and to get any service, you need at least one of those. So I said, okay, let's start with trying to get your photo ID. Well, I don't have any money. Okay, well, let me find a resource in our community that will help you get your photo ID. So we started to get small items like that. Start of 2022, we got him put on the Metro wait list, which is usually very long, but for some reason in 2022, they were pulling them really quick. So in 2022, we still had 8 calls. And at the end of 2022, we put him into an assisted living, working with the hospitals and the nursing home. They were like, okay, we agree he needs physical rehab. And so while he was in the nursing home, we were able to get his Metro approved, his disability approved, his counseling services back in place, and when he got out, we had him a house, and we've only been called 4 times in 2023. So that's my example of reducing 911 calls. And he is still in his apartment and striving, so that's exciting news. The past 4 years, I do what they call avenues, and that would be any social service referral or medical referral that I would identify or that the client would identify. So to year to date, I've done roughly 3,000 face-to-face visits. So I go to their home, under the bridge, wherever they might be. I go meet them where they're at, and I do a basic checklist with them, enroll them, and just talk with them. What do you need to stay safely in your home? What do you need to understand your diabetes better? What do you need, whatever they might need. So I've done 3,000 face-to-face visits. I've opened roughly around 4,780 avenues on these clients, and I've closed 4,720 avenues that I've completed. We open every avenue that we address, so that's why there's kind of a discrepancy of I've opened more than I've closed. So with that being said, some clients might identify, I want to quit smoking, but it's really hard. I'll say, okay, well, do you want to do that now? No, I have too much stuff I want to focus on, my housing or my food assistance or my something else first. So that pathway, that avenue, sorry, I switched the name of it, that can be open for a long time. And then maybe by the end of the time working with me, they're like, I really appreciate it, but I don't want to quit smoking. So that's their choice. I'll still educate them on, wise choices, healthy living, all that good stuff, but it's ultimately their choice on if they want to close the avenue or not. So at each appointment, I do 2 to 3 educations. This just is gonna vary with what we're talking about. If I'm at a client's house and they identify that they don't have a medical home, I'm going to educate them on why it's important to have a medical home. So you're not utilizing the ER, which will help drive down insurance cost, ER cost, and that they don't realize that the ER doesn't really keep the best record of their health. So they might be missing diagnosis. So if they have a family doctor, they're gonna be able to keep track of their chronic illnesses quicker and catch things quicker with that. So the educations could be as simple as, hey, let's talk about a family doctor, or as in depth of, hey, you have, your diabetes are out of control. Let's look at some programs for you. Let's talk about diet and exercise and healthy choices for your lifestyle to get your A1C back on track. Teaching them how to set an alarm on their phone just to remember to take their medications are sometimes simple tasks for us to do, but for someone else, they're like, I didn't even think of that. But so just to give them those little pointers, so that could be an education of, hey, let's open your phone. What time do you normally wake up? Because let's not set it for 6 a.m. because you're not going to wake up and walk across the living room to get your meds. So let's think of this through. So that's the educations that I do with people. We do a yearly toy drive, and in 2020 we did the Compassion Station, which we served 160 families. We were going to continue to do that, but we realized that in 2020, obviously COVID was here, so SNAP Ohio food stamps really powered up a lot of money on their food cards. Housing, they were having rent paid and mortgages covered through like Harkidis, but there wasn't still any cleaning supplies, personal hygiene items or stuff like that. So we went to the community and asked them for donations, and we kind of put boxes together, and so people could come. So we served like 160 then. Since then, Harkidis opened back up their, I think they call it the empty nest. And so people can go there monthly for personal hygiene items and household items. So we didn't feel like we should keep giving stuff out like that because the resource was being met in the community. So my cares can come from anybody. Anybody can refer them to me. I won't read down through the list. You can see, one that isn't up there was the coroner's office, referred a lady to me. Our guys were called out to an overdose, and it was a 78-year-old lady, and she just thinks she might have needed some more services. And so after getting in the house and working with her, we realized that she didn't have any family around here. She was very confused, just really didn't know anything that was going on. So after meeting with her a few times, we got her connected to home health, and then in the end, she decided an assistant living was the best option for her. So we were able to find a son that lived in Columbus that was willing to step up and help take power of attorney for medical and financial for her and help get her into the nursing home. So she is, I actually visited her last week, and she is doing great, thriving in the assistant living and really calling it her home. So that really anybody can refer to us. It doesn't have to just be our fire department personnel. I've said a couple of those. I think most of you guys know, especially the police officers will know the one up there that says mail carrier. That was the one that they wrote a big article in the Times Reporter about. She left a note for the mail person that she needed some food. So I believe the police department gathered up some canned goods and took them over to her. So when I went out to her house, just spending an hour with her, getting to know her a little bit more, she had a daughter that lived a couple hours away, but she didn't want to burden her. Like, oh, I don't want to call her. She doesn't need to take care of me, you know, and visited her a few times within that week. And finally, by the end of the week, she was like, yeah, I think I do want to call my daughter. So we were able to call her daughter. Her daughter was able to come down, talk with her mom. She hadn't been to a doctor in 13 years. No medication, no chronic diseases, anything. But we were just able to connect her with her daughter, and she is also in the assistant living and doing fantastic. So those are all good, happy ending stories. This last year, I started to work a little closer with the fire department on firehouse calls. I'm not built for firefighting. It's cold out there, so I commend them for all they do. But this last one we went to, they lost some animals, and so Chief Tharp was able to get a funeral home to help with the animal burial and cremation. And I was able to go out on the call and sit with the lady and just explain to her, we have like these after an emergency files that we give individuals. It just has local resources in there, how to clean things. Maybe if your house isn't completely destroyed and you can get back in, how to clean smoke off your clothes and your surfaces and stuff like that. But I sat with her and was able to put her in my car until American Red Cross came, and just did like a soft handoff for them, so she didn't have to repeat everything she has already told all of us. You know, I wrote it all down for them, so when they got there, I was able to just kind of update them on all of her information, and so she didn't have to go through all of that when she was in a crisis. So that's been really nice to be able to go out with them. So moving forward in 2024, I continue to build trust with the community among the people we are serving. My goal is to continue to extend relationships with local nursing homes, medical professionals, social service agencies, and nonprofit organizations. This fall I became certified as the car seat technician, so we're going to do car seat checks. Right now you can just call the fire department at any time and schedule an appointment with me, and I'll do car seat checks, but we plan on doing some community events and with the health department this year. I'm working with the state level older adult fall prevention coalition. I'm working with the Tuscarawas County Health Department, just got a grant this year for elderly falls. So that's exciting to see what we can do with that. I'm going to do Facebook with the fire department. I'm going to do my best to try to share some falls education. So that will just come mainly from the health department at the state level. I'll just reshare some of their things that they put out there. I will do falls prevention and car seat safety, and then just local resources, because I feel like our Facebook has a lot of people on it, and so it gets a lot of attention. So if there's like tomorrow there's a laundry day at the laundry mat on Fair Avenue, and you can do up to 4 loads for free. I think that'd be a great resource for our community to be just told about. So I'm like, oh, I put it on my first personal page, but to be able to put it out on a fire department page will be, I think, kind of cool to show that we're not just a fire department. We care more than just falls and fires. So continue to do the toy drive, I hope. This year we were able to collect 550 toys. I'm not sure exactly how many families that helped. Job and Family Services didn't really report that back to me. 29 so far, so they don't give them all out at Christmas. They will actually keep them throughout the year and give them to the people that get emergency placed. So they can have just a couple new toys with them when they get to a home that's unfamiliar. And by doing all of this stuff, I just hope to continue to gain the trust of the community and make it a better place. So, any questions?
Any questions from council? Chief Pearson?
Yeah.
I don't have a question, I just thank you for everything you do.
Well,
That was really
thanks.
impressive.
I love to do it, so. Thanks.
And Paula, don't go anywhere,
Okay,
because the mayor has something for you.
okay.
Paul, if you come forward, and the service that you provide to this community is invaluable. In 2 words you don't hear enough of. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
So I want to read to you a letter of commendation I'm going to present to you
Okay,
for all the work that you've done and all the work that you plan to do here in the future. And this will tell a little bit more detail about the coroner's office.
okay, all right.
This is a letter of commendation to Paula Lancaster for her dedication and commitment to our community. In the early summer of 2023, as our CARES coordinator, Paula received a referral regarding a local resident from a member of the coroner's office. The investigator was concerned because the resident had a family member pass suddenly, and that family member was the primary caregiver for the resident. Paula immediately contacted the resident and established a report. During conversations, she discovered that the resident was not able to live independently. Through a series of events, Paula was able to connect the resident with an assisted living facility. Paula took it upon herself to make the assisted living apartment a home. Now Paula makes routine visits to make sure that the resident has settled in and that the needs are being met. This is just one example of the CARES program in action in our community. There have been many success stories since the program started in 2020. It is with great pleasure that I commend you, Paula, for consistently going above and beyond in your work in and around the city of New Philadelphia, and for the connections that you've made and continue to make with our local residents and the resources here in our community. It's a blessing to have individuals like Paula Lancaster serving the citizens of New Philadelphia. Congratulations. One more step. There you go.
Thank you.
Chief, we were talking the other day. Other fire departments in the state are asking about such a program that Paula has started.
I don't like stuff
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this.
She assisted with Belmont County, correct, setting up their CARES program. She does an amazing job. You would think with the numbers that you saw there on the screen and what she just talked about, and she's very humble, as you can see her leaving the room here. This is a full-time position, but it's not. She gets paid, and I'm describing it this way, she gets paid 20 hours a week for what she does out of the ambulance fund. The reason I'm saying it, because a lot of times she works a lot more than 20 hours a week, just helping people because she cares. You know, we need more people like that. And we're seeking funding, it's in the budget, the request is in the budget, as you will see as time goes on here. We're seeking funding to make it a full-time position because
for every 1 or 2 people she helps, there's 4 or 5 more waiting in the wings that need help. You know, she just does a tremendous job helping people get what they need. And a lot of times what they need is not an ambulance, it's not an emergency room, it's not all of that stuff. It's just needing someone to care for them and help them navigate the healthcare system, you know, and things like that. And she just has a ton of resources, and we really appreciate all she does for us, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thanks for all your
Thank you.
colleagues showing up tonight too, so. We appreciate all that you guys do, so,
That's all I have.
thanks, Greg. You done?
Yes.
All right, move on, let's see. Auditor, Mrs. Gundy.
I have no report tonight, thank you.
Right, Treasurer, Mr. Gerber.
I have no reports.
Law Director, Mr. Bate.
Thank you. I want to piggyback on something the mayor said earlier. I want to talk about Greg Erb. This city lost not only a tremendous mayor, but somebody who was a tremendous advocate for the city of New Philadelphia. Greg was a dear friend of mine. And the way I became friends was kind of unique. I had worked on a congressional campaign, or I'd worked for a congressman in Cleveland who got defeated. And I applied to law school after he got beat, and I got accepted, but I had to wait 6 months before I get in there, so I had to find a job for about 6 months. And Greg was the new mayor in the city of New Philadelphia at that time. Back then, you had a council that was very partisan. Something that I've never seen in the 11 years that I've been here. Of course, it's kind of hard to do with our new council, but in the 11 years that I've been here, I've never seen the partisanship that previously existed back during this time. And Greg was a Republican, and they were a Democrat-controlled council. And I had worked and made a name for myself in Republican circles, having worked for who's now our governor. I worked for Mike DeWine. I worked for Congressman Bob Ney here running his district office. And then I worked for Congressman Martin Hoke up in Cleveland. I was about as hyper-partisan a Republican as you could find back then. And Greg came in and defeated a long-term Democrat mayor and didn't pull any punches to get in there. And when he got in there, he hired, as an executive assistant, somebody that lived about a mile outside of town. Well, the council invoked the residency requirement, which is now unconstitutional, ironically. That's now unconstitutional, and said that person had to go. Well, I'm looking for a job, and he needed somebody, and I said, you really want to stick something in their craw. I said, you should put me in there for 6 months, and I can help you get in there. He thought that was a great idea. I came in, and we just created a tremendous partnership. I learned so much from him. He was probably the smartest man I've ever met, just in terms of his knowledge of computers, numbers, mathematics, business, very forward-thinking. And in fact, this is a compliment to our current mayor, but he was a visionary that wanted to put things in place that we've only now started doing in the past 8 years. And that was because he encountered tremendous opposition. When you come in as an agent of change and want to change things, particularly for the better, the old guard will sometimes rise up and strike you down, and that's what happened to him. And just a couple of things worth mentioning. The skate park that's here, he did that. That came from Greg Erb. He also literally wrote, and I've never seen anybody do this. I've worked with counting him 5 different mayors. He literally wrote an ordinance that was called 3997. It was a precursor to everything that we've done with the non-bargaining units and to try and bring them up to speed. It was the first ever attempt to make sure that those non-bargaining units were recognized and singled out, given specific job criteria, and recognized for what they did, because back then, the unions continued to get big raises and the non-bargaining units didn't. And that's something that hasn't been caught up to until recently. And he literally wrote that entire ordinance himself. And I worked with it on him, and I learned a tremendous amount from him. And he had a tremendous sense of humor. I last saw him, I knew he was not in good health. And I last saw him when I was going door to door to get signatures to run for reelection, and we visited for probably about an hour in his house, and I'm so thankful for that time that I got to spend with him. But just, the guy was a visionary, he was a prophet, and like I said, the things that he envisioned and pushed for and advocated for are things that we are just now doing, because we've been able to get some consistency in the mayor's office and really get some great things going. But a lot of that stuff, the first person to think of those things and originate those things was Greg Herb. And just a tremendous leader and a tremendous loss to this community of just an outstanding person that I think the whole world of, and his family will be in my thoughts and prayers, and I hope they'll be in yours too. I just wanted people to know what a great man he was and what a great leader he was for our community.
All right, thank you, Mr. Feedy. Yes, some good words. All right, move on to our board commission reports. First up, Planning Commission, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Planning Commission will be meeting on the 13th of February at 1 o'clock here in council chambers. And I'm sure we'll have some more information from Wendy Moeller of Compass Point Planning, who's diligently working to revise our zoning codes.
All right, move on to Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbeer.
Board of Zoning and Appeals will meet here February 13th at 5 p.m. here in council chambers.
All right. Airport Commissioner, Mr. Lonzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Airport Commission will be meeting February 13th. I will update you on the next meeting of where we're gonna have it exactly. We were talking about taking it back to the airport and doing our meetings there. But I'll get you, keep everybody posted on that.
All right. Park Board, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right. Health Board, Mr. Similic.
Health Board met on the 10th of this month, and as they're empowered to do, the board voted to, effective March 1st, raise the charges for vaccinations. It's the first time they've done it in 8 years. First shot went from, goes from 15 to 20 bucks. Additional shots on the same visit go up from 10 to $15. And I said it's the first increase in 8 years. Seemed to be reasonable to me. They are seeking or they're not seeking, they're seeing an increase as you would expect right now with COVID and RSV and flu and all that kind of stuff, and their diagnosis and vaccinations and all that are up. And they're seeking a grant for COVID administration for the uninsured, which will help there. If my first exposure, I can add personally, I didn't know much about the health board, city health board here. I knew more about the county health board. And I'll tell you, I was very impressed with this operation here.
Yeah, Vicki does a great job.
Pardon me?
Said Vicki does a great job.
She does. I even learned that Dover schools routinely call our city health department for when they want to send kids over and stuff. Now they pay, you know, but they drive right past the county department to come over here because they find this such a competent operation. And I think it's, I was impressed with my first exposure. So
That's good to hear.
that's it.
Any questions for Mr. Similic? All right, we'll move on to our council committee reports. Finance, Mr. Rippeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met tonight at 6:30 here in council chambers. We discussed several ordinances and resolutions, ordinance 1, 2024, and ordinance 2, 2024, which we've recommended tonight for immediate passage, as well as resolution number 1, 2024, which we've also added to the agenda and hope to pass in emergency tonight. We adjourned at 6:58.
All right, any question for Mr. Rippeth? All right, move on to Public Works and Economic Development. Mr. Lonzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, Safety, Health, and Service, Mr. Similek.
Nothing further.
All right, we'll move on to, I think you got the new abbreviation, Z&A Committee, Mr. Ramos.
Sorry.
I like it.
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, I like
It's harder to say the other one.
It
That's
is.
the one. Okay, the ZA, also known as the Zoning and Annexation Committee, did meet tonight at 7 o'clock. And we did put on the agenda for tonight and a public hearing in 30 days, rezoning for city-owned property, and also a property on Kaiserman that to industrial from residential, the city-owned property from residential to business. And so that is on the agenda tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ramos. Salary Committee, Mr. Cranbill.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, Cemetery Committee, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President, no report.
All right, Contact and Special, Mr. Walker.
Nothing to report tonight, but we will have a meeting on the next council meeting. We don't-
February
30,
12th.
12th. 6:30?
7:30?
7:30?
Or no, 7.
7.
7.
7. 7 p.m.
You'll interfere with council if you do it at 7:30. That's it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, visitors, the floor is now open for visitors' comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise. State their name and address and address all comments to the chair. You will be given 5 minutes. Nobody in the back wants to talk? I know we got a bunch of talkers back there, but no, okay. All right, move on to council comments. Any council members have comments tonight? Mrs. Ramos?
I would like to give a shout out to my wonderful husband, who's not here, he's working hard in a hospital, Ricardo Ramos. Yesterday, we celebrated 35 years of marriage. So thank you to my wonderful husband.
All right. I'd like to give a shout out to the New Philly Lions Club. I don't know if anybody noticed this year, the Santa's house on the square, it was not really manned that much, so the Lions Club came to the mayor and asked permission if we could man that for Santa Claus, hand out stuff, and we got them to move it from over by Gavin's to the front of the courthouse to get more exposure, so it was really well received, and so I know I'm a member of the Lions Club, I just like to thank you for all the hard work. Mr. Neil Roop kind of spearheaded that for us, and it went over well. We had a lot of positive comments, and so shout out to the New Philadelphia Lions Club. All right, we'll move into the legislative agenda. Ms. Courtright.
Ordinance 1, 2024, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia authorizing the service director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for sanitary landfill for a term beginning May 15th, 2024 and ending May 15th, 2027, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
So any action be taken by council on this ordinance tonight?
Mr.
Mr.
President, I
Rippon.
would move that we suspend the rules on that ordinance tonight and vote tonight.
Do I have a second? All right, Mr. Lonzer, thank you. In discussion by council administration, roll call.
Mr. Rippeth.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Similink.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, rules have been suspended. Now, Mr. Rippeth.
Yes, I would move that we vote on the ordinance tonight.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Lonzer. In discussion by the community, administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Rippeth.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Similling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 1/2024 has passed.
Ordinance number 2, 2024, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia directing the service director to advertise for bids and enter into contracts with the lowest and best bidder for the city's requirements of various materials and supplies for 2024 and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there any action to be taken by council on this ordinance tonight?
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Rippett,
once again, I would move that we suspend the rules on ordinance 2, 2024.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Granville, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Similling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, now I'd entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2, 2024.
Mr. President, I would move that we vote to approve
All right.
ordinance 2,
Do I have a-
2024.
All right, I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Granville. In discussion by community, administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Similling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2, 2024 has passed.
Ordinance number 9, 2024, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to permanently rezone the following parcels of the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, from residential zone to business zone and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there any action to be taken by council on this ordinance tonight? Hearing none, do we have for a second reading at our next regularly scheduled council meeting?
Ordinance number 10, 2024, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to permanently rezone the following parcel in the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, from residential zone to industrial zone and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there any action to be taken by council on this ordinance tonight? Hearing none, be held for second reading at our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Resolution number 1, 2024, a resolution by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County, Ohio, authorizing and directing the safety director to enter into an agreement with Montrose Ford to purchase 3 2023 Ford Explorer police cruisers and necessary equipment for the police department at a cost not to exceed $42,039 and 8 cents each, for a total of $126,117.25, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there any action to be taken by council on this resolution tonight? Mr. Lanzer.
Yes, I move that we pass this resolution.
Suspend
Suspend the rules on this resolution.
Do I have a second? Mr. Rippeth, all right, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Similling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, now I'd entertain a motion to pass resolution 1, 2024. Mr.
I'll make that
Lanzer.
motion, sir.
Do I have a second?
I would second that motion.
All right, Mr. Rippeth, thank you. In discussion by community, administration, yes, Mrs. Gundy.
Yes, I just want to be on record that I have informed council, we are not through the budgeting process yet. We don't know where we're going to end up. And I'm not sure that these are, this dollar amount is going to fit, so.
All right, duly noted.
Make it-
In discussion by council, roll call.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Similling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, resolution 1, 2024 has passed.
And that concludes legislation for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, is there any unfinished road business for tonight? Mr.
President,
McAbey.
I forgot during my presentation that if you could possibly assign to a committee a agreement to purchase a street sweeper and go over a loan agreement that I have at this time.
All right, Mr. Rippeth, that fall right under your committee. Since we're good friends, I'm gonna sign it to your committee.
Thank you. Mr. Pate.
It's what, I got one over here for Cheryl, Mrs. Ramos. You had a-
I just talked to Councilman Lanzer that we're still working on the rental registration. So that is not dead.
To think it was, but okay. All right.
She just brought it back to life.
She did. Well, we got some new committee, we got some new committee members, so we'll get them up to speed.
I don't know what,
I meant to say this during my remarks. I just want to commend the captain and the chief. And I hope you guys told Dean Holland, because I know he was really excited about that.
We did.
All right, great, because that's a huge get. I've been a trial attorney for going on 23 years, and I was a defense attorney for 11 years before I became a prosecutor, and those cameras resolve more cases and are more helpful to me than anything else out there. I mean, they are just so beneficial to resolving cases. When I was a defense attorney, you'd have a guy come in and say, oh yeah, I passed all my tests, and you shoot the video and they're falling down, puking on themselves. But when you have, when it's a close one, you want that video to win on a prosecution case. And so that is a huge benefit for the city of New Philadelphia, and I just want to commend all the parties involved in that. That's great.
Any other comments? Any new business before council this evening? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right, we are adjourned at 8:40, a little longer than our last meeting. Thanks, everyone, for coming.